Lofton Creek kayaking takes you through the wooded wetlands of Yulee, Florida on a tranquil, blackwater waterway. Lofton Creek, a primitive river, has water that is black in color due to tannins that seep into the water when flora decays. This unusual habitat is evocative of an ancient South Bayou, brackish water abounding with uncommon plants, animals, and reptiles, with bald cypress, sweet gum, and rare flowers like pickerel weed and wild azaleas. Before the arrival of the Spanish, French, and English in the mid-16th century, Native Americans most likely fished and farmed these rivers and developed the land for thousands of years. How to get the most out of Lofton Creek kayaking. The Lofton Creek Kayak Tour is ideal for paddlers of all skill levels, including youngsters and novices. Participants may expect to get up and personal with nature during this intimate nature adventure. The forest's terrestrial character attracts pileated woodpeckers, red-shoulder hawks, and the fascinating anhinga, also known as the water turkey. Lofton Creek's sheltered nature implies that canoeing here is weather-resistant to stormy coastal conditions. A southbound paddle on Lofton Creek offers scenic marsh vistas, whilst a northbound paddle offers a more secluded, wooded experience. The Lofton Creek Kayak Tour ensures that everyone in your party has a fantastic time. Lofton Creek kayaking under windy conditions. Any amount of wind, from a gentle breeze to a strong gust, will have an influence on your kayak. This is typical, and it is easily compensated for. If possible, paddle with the wind rather than against it to save energy. To make proper wind adjustments, you may either paddle harder, utilize a rudder, or add an additional stroke to your downwind side. Don't resist it if you lose control of your kayak. Consider driving down the road and losing control due to ice, mud, or other treacherous circumstances. Attempting to recover control of the car quickly may force you to overcorrect, exacerbating the issue. Instead, keep as much control of the vehicle as possible and go in the direction of the vehicle. The same is true for kayaking. If your kayak begins to spin unexpectedly, move with it and adapt appropriately. How to find the right kayak. There's also a danger your kayak may turn over, submerging you. In this circumstance, being centered in the kayak and wearing a life jacket would be beneficial. If you tip without a life jacket, be cool and grasp the kayak and the life vest, if it's connected to the watercraft. If you tip your kayak in calm water, turn it over by gripping both sides of the cockpit and climbing back in if you can. If this is not possible, grab the kayak and swim back to shore or shallow water. If your kayak tips while in a river, hold the kayak with one arm alone. Maintain your upright posture to allow you to breathe. Backstroke to the beach or shallower water while keeping your body parallel to the surface of the water. How to easily flip your kayak. Simply said, flipping a kayak is more difficult than you may imagine. The majority of models are built to be incredibly stable. It's also difficult to conceive that there could be times when you want to intentionally overturn a kayak. Indeed, many skilled paddlers recommend learning how to flip a kayak because it boosts confidence on the water, particularly in difficult situations like the open ocean. It is ideal to learn how to flip a righted kayak with the assistance of a skilled teacher. You'll almost certainly learn two distinct sorts of rolls. The sweep, or screw, roll is one kind, while the vertical, or C-to-C, roll is another. Though they are significantly different, when completed effectively, both sorts of rolls culminate in the same outcome: you, sitting upright in your kayak, paddling further, although a little wetter than when you began. Getting the most out of Lofton Creek kayaking. After you've acquired a few kayaking tips and tricks, it's time to learn some kayaking abilities and methods that you may apply in various bodies of water. Each setting in which you select a kayak has factors that will influence how you kayak. A flowing river, for example, will automatically boost your pace, but a still lake will need you to use more energy to travel quicker. It's a good idea to plan out a route ahead of time no matter whatever body of water you choose to kayak in. If you're kayaking on a lake or pond, keep an eye out for shoreline places that you won't be able to quickly reach in an emergency. If you're kayaking along a river or stream, consider a route that has normally calm waters. It's preferable to avoid locations that might become more difficult if you paddle too far, particularly if you're new to kayaking. It's also a good idea to mark points along your journey, such as bays or accessible shorelines, where you may stop for a break if necessary. If you go off track, make sure you have a nautical chart or compass on hand. Though GPS and other electronic navigational instruments are useful, if they fail, you will have a trustworthy backup in the form of a printed map. You should also be aware of the many types of animals that you may see when kayaking in both fresh and salt water. Sharks and jellyfish may be found in oceans, inlets, or bays. Depending on where you kayak, rivers, streams, or lakes may have snakes, alligators, or be frequented by other potentially deadly creatures on the shoreline. Before venturing out into the water, learn about the many types of creatures you can meet and how you can safely share the water with them. Invest on a quality paddle. This one comes from experience. Invest in a decent paddle that is properly proportioned and as light as you can afford. Don't feel obligated to get the costliest paddle on the market, but putting a few $100s on your paddle can rapidly move you into the performance end of great paddles. After a day of paddling, moving the paddle back and forth becomes tiresome, and it's much more fulfilling to spend your energy moving the water, and therefore the kayak, rather than the paddle. Those low-cost paddles may serve for your first few journeys, but you'll soon wish you'd invested in a better paddle. A hefty or wrongly sized paddle will make your paddling excursion disagreeable, just as heavy hiking boots make your climb more tiresome. It is critical to choose the appropriate length and shape paddle for your sort of kayaking. Don't simply buy the first paddle you see, do your homework. Prepare to get wet. It's easy to forget that a minor error in your kayak may quickly turn you upside down and soaking. Even if you don't tip, you'll get soaked if you paddle or camp in the rain. Make sure you study and pack the appropriate clothing, which should include rain layers. Always dress appropriately, which includes wearing polyester, nylon, or wool. Cotton is a poor option of outdoor apparel since it absorbs more water weight and remains wet longer than synthetics. Footwear is also essential. You'll need dependable and stable sandals or water shoes. If you're going on an overnight vacation or even a lengthy day journey, don't forget to carry any extra clothing in a dry bag. Always maintain at least one set of entirely dry clothes in your sleeping bag or blanket for wearing at night.